How valuable are you right now, Faust, to the world versus where you were 10 years ago? How much more valuable today are you 10 years later than you were 10 years ago?
Exponentially.
Like
I mean, there's,
crazy, right?
yeah, very little
Right.
comparison.
Right. And 10 years from now, you're going to be another 10 times more valuable than you were
Wow.
in the last 10 years versus 10 years ago. But 10 times more than you just increased in the last 10 years because you're getting older, wiser, faster, smarter, stronger. You're getting more dialed in. You're more valuable to yourself, to your family, to your loved ones, to your colleagues, and to the world in general.
It's so
So,
true. It's
right.
exciting.
And how old are you now?
I am 43, going on 35.
Going on 25. So I'm 65 and I just turned 25.
Nice.
Right. But at 85, so in the last 10 years, I've seen a significant upgrade simply by the things that I've been allowed to learn. And I know that every single day we are going to become more valuable. Therefore, we should be very conscious of wanting to be here as long as possible.
Welcome to Far Out with Faust, everybody. I am Faust Chicho, and today I am delighted to be joined once again by an old friend of mine, the one and only Ian Clark. I'm going to let Ian remind you who he is, what he's about, what he's been up to.
Yeah. So the long and the short of it, I'm on a mission to share keys that unlock locks that people can use to extend their life significantly, but most importantly, make sure their quality of life is maximized. And then every single day going forward, things get better every day. And what I found out is that if things are not getting better every day going forward, and if things get worse when people get older, that there's just something wrong. And you know something is right when things are getting better. And the opposite of the thought patterns in the society is what's true. People think, oh, the older you get, the weaker, the dumber, the slower, the stiffer, the closer you are to death. Where it's actually the opposite. Because the older you get, the wiser you become, the more knowledge you have, the better you are, the more flexible, more mobile, more agile, definitely way, way smarter, faster.
Definitely smarter.
It's really, that's the way it is. And so whatever you believe, you're either in the death cult, the death culture, or you're in the life cult, the life culture. Which one would you like to be in? So I opted out of the death cult a while ago. I didn't realize I was in it until I started noticing all these earmarks of death culture and got into the living culture. Like, hey, let's get with it. I turned 65 in June, and now I realize I'm just getting started. This is the beginning of a very long, long run, which is going to be really good. And it doesn't matter what else the rest of the world is doing. That's their problem, not mine.
Amen.
And we're here to bring, a lot of joy, a lot of strength, and a lot of learning and understanding to people who are open to it, and get people into the way things really are rather than the way things are supposed to be.
And the way they like to tell us things are, which we know is usually the opposite of the truth.
Right.
More and more, I'm wondering if I'm like, is it because the poles are starting to shift? Is that why they think that it's okay to tell us the opposite of what is true? And I'm like, no, I think they're just pathological liars.
Exactly. Yeah. Even the truth they tell is always contaminated with a lie inside of it. It's like
Sure.
eating a beautiful, delicious, organic meal, farm to table, with some botulism put in it.
It's exactly what it's like, and that's on the best of days,
Right.
My God. But man, I know I saw you were on my friend's podcast. I saw you on Josh Trent's podcast. That was a while ago. But I know you've been really busy, and our mutual friend Hunter tells me that you've been working on some exciting, very exciting new products and supplements and some breakthroughs that have been happening. And man, I'm excited to catch up with you. It's been too long.
Yeah. There's some revelatory stuff that has come in on full circle. When this thing started in 2007, because I hit the wall with my health in 2007 or 2004, and then it took 3 years to learn about ocean nutrients. And I didn't even know anything about ocean nutrients, especially the ones that I ran into, which was the phytoplankton. the ocean's alive. And I remember when I first started taking it, and I was so sick. Like my body was messed up. I still had this huge tumor, and they wanted to call that, and
Yeah.
and then heart disease and liver numbers off the charts. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't know what to do about those things. We'll learn. All I know is that when I'm taking the phytoplankton with this sea mineral stuff in it, that it makes me feel like my battery's getting charged up. And it's one of those things where it's like, that's all I know. I didn't know I had a battery inside me, but we're actually walking batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And if our battery charge goes down, then we expire. And if our battery charge is being maintained or increased, we continue on. And it made me feel very excited to be alive. And I thought, man, if this stuff makes me feel this good, are there other things out there that can make me feel as good or even better? And the truth is that there are and there were. And of course, that journey brings us to today. But when I talk about full circle, it started with the ocean and it's continuing now I know why those things were working back in 2007. I know now why my body was able to heal itself completely. Being in the ocean for the nutrients, even swimming in the ocean and getting nutrients out of the ocean is the final key that is the biggest key that unlocks the biggest lock. I just wasn't applying it enough. It was like dabbling, it's like
Mm-hmm.
trying this and trying that and noticing, hey, there's something here. And then finally now knowing that the fluid we drink has to have ocean minerals in it. So this product here, I don't know if you've ever seen this one. We've had this one for many, many years. It's called Trace. And
Oh
there
yeah,
are different,
yeah.
there are
I've gone
different
through
ocean.
many a bottle
Yeah,
since you introduced it to me. Yes.
right. And so this one is 100 times strength ocean water. And it's certified pure, and you add it to fluid and it instantly becomes the fluid. And there's this really cool thing that happens in this universe we live in. There's irrevocable laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you jump out of a building on the 19th floor, you're gonna fall really fast. So it's not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop at the end and all the bouncing around.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Unless you have a heart attack on the way down. But so it's irrevocable laws. Well, there's an irrevocable law of osmotic transfer. And that just means that a higher salinity is always going to be forced by law to donate to the lower salinity. And you know that we are walking beings with 80% electrolytic fluid in our
Mm-hmm.
body. So the first lie we've been told, and everybody's been told all their life, you're 80% water. Well, I would strongly dispute that. Okay, because give me some water. Produce some water from your body for me. You can't. You don't have any water in your body at all. You have electrolytic fluid that's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Cry a tear and taste what that tastes like. That's ocean water. It's just a little bit diluted.
I
And
mean,
then,
if you ever tasted a tear, that is very, very salty. If that's any indication.
we've all tasted our tears at least once in our life,
Yeah.
right? It was like, I remember the first time I tasted my tears, it was like, what is that?
Yeah. It's like
Oh,
salty.
and so, we got blood and lymph and interstitial fluid, intercellular fluid, saliva, mucus, urine, sweat. It's all those things. It's electrolytic fluid. And so people have to learn that very important fact, because we need to add to our electrolytic fluid. It literally is the fuel inside of our body that we're living on. Without it, we're dead. If we were water, we wouldn't be alive at all. So,
I saw this experiment. This dude had 2 tubs of water, and he had an electric light bulb, and he had it rigged up somehow. And in one water, it was simply water. There was nothing special about it. There was nothing in it.
right.
And he put this. He attached to I forgot how he rigged it, but he put it in, and you could see that nothing happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he added trace minerals,
Mm-hmm.
just like the ones you're holding, to the other thing. And then
Right.
he added the wire to it and the light bulb lit. And I was like, holy shit. And he said that's literally the difference in power that your body has when it has these minerals and when it doesn't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what kind of experiment he was doing or how he rigged it, but it was fascinating.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a whole bunch of components attached to it. So your blood, think about your plasma. You build blood based upon the minerals that you supply to your body. That's how your body manufactures blood. So if you're drinking water or any fluid that is not a greater salinity than your body, you're robbing from yourself.
Mm.
You're depleting your body. And you're going to have less and less and less electrolytes inside your body as you go down the road. And that's why people get old and they shrivel up.
Mm.
The brain shrivels into Alzheimer's and dementia if you live long enough. The glands get all dehydrated and swollen. They don't shrivel, they swell. And all of these things that are completely unnecessary happen when you're drinking water. So I stopped drinking water completely. And I use pure water, structured water, as the base, but I add minerals. And I add very specific ones, and they have to be unrefined ocean minerals,
Mm.
and they have to be in the liquid form, because you can add them to your food all you want, but it's going to do you no good, because those minerals are not accessible as fluid, because you're a fluid being.
Mm.
When you dissolve them into water, then it turns that water into electrolytic fluid, which donates to you. Now you can produce more blood. Now, I know this is going to get a bit complicated, but I want people just to take their time, and I've gone through iterations to make it as simple as possible so that I finally know what's going on. I could read a book about this, Faust, and study for a university for 50 years.
Yeah.
But until I myself started putting every single day, all day,
Yeah.
these special electrolytic fluids into my system, I couldn't know it. And the more that I did it, the more I knew, the more I learned. It's doing that. Like within 45 days, my enlarged prostate, which was typical for someone in their 60s,
Mm-hmm.
it shrunk down to a size small enough that it didn't bother my urination tract anymore.
Wow.
Within 3 months, it came down to the normal size, and all my libido came back.
Wow.
Right. And I didn't, like, all the enhancement supplements and all the devices and all that stuff, they're only Band-Aids. They work for a little bit, but then they stop working if you go away from them. That means you did not fix the problem.
Right.
So this fixed that problem. I was like, you're kidding, right? That
Yeah.
actually. And so I was testing to make sure, like filling my bladder right full and holding it for an hour
Yeah.
to see what would happen. No problem, full flow. And when I would be stuck in traffic or stuck on a call before that, if I had to hold my urine and not pee, I would stand there for 30 seconds waiting for my prostate to stop being angry with me
Yeah.
enough to let me trickle urine out for 3 minutes.
It's so common in men. It's so, I mean, it's ridiculous how common it is. And then people go on all, the pharmaceuticals, and they're doing all these things to try to decrease the size of their prostate. Meanwhile, so what you're saying is that you use structured water and these trace minerals, but you didn't just use them like, okay, I'll have a glass a day. You converted all your drinking water so that you were constantly having a replenishment of these minerals and these electrolytes. Is that what you're saying?
100%. And
Wow.
the more pure the water. Now, you don't have to be too fancy. You can just get reverse osmosis water or distilled water. That's perfectly fine, because the moment that you add the minerals to it,
Yeah.
it instantaneously structures that water. It makes it smooth as silk, and you can down it no problem. Because I remember trying to drink water and it was like choking it down,
Yeah.
even structured water. But the body doesn't want that. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you're causing me trouble. I'm having to compensate. And the other problem is this, that the food we eat doesn't have minerals in it properly at
No,
all anymore.
I know. It's a
Right.
problem. It's a big problem.
Right. And why? Because distilled water has been evaporating out of the ocean and the freshwater bodies in the world up into the air, going over the land and raining on it for thousands and thousands of years. So the more time that's gone on, the more the minerals got washed down into the water tables below the soil, into these little streams and rivers and tributaries, and out it went to the ocean. So we have to go to the ocean and get it back. And we put it in our water, and then we go, oh, that's what you do. Now we're told, no question, that that is not the thing to do, because the medical studies showed that over the last 40 years of research and study to find out what gives longevity, that the people who drink more pure water, and the more pure it is, the better, and the less salt they use, the longer they live, versus people who drink less water and use more salt, who live shorter times. Now that study is actually true. Seems like a paradox. So I'm telling you something that's the opposite of the study, but that study was true. But they're using the wrong cases to study against.
Right.
They're talking about people who use garbage salt, which is very
Fake
bad
salt,
for them.
probably.
Poison, basically, it's poison, because it's all refined, and they do all this crap to it, and they add potassium iodide to it, which is garbage, and they do all these things. Or they're using Himalayan salt or some salt that is mostly sodium chloride that is not the right assay. And then they compare it with people who lived 3 or 4 years longer. Wow, right? And those people who, the longer that they live, regardless of what they're doing in that case, they're going to shrivel up and they're going to die before 100, most of them.
Yeah.
If they make it to 100, they look absolutely terrible, and then they die. And then there's the other things that we're told. Well, 50% of the population is going to get cancer before they die if they live long enough. 100% of men are going to get prostate cancer if they live long enough. See, those are two massive lies, but they are true when people are drinking water and not using proper salt in their water, because they can't detox.
There is no detox. I mean, if they're just drinking, God forbid, they're just drinking tap water at this point. But there are a lot of people who don't understand that is, not safe for any number of reasons. I mean, you're putting a stress on your body, as if life isn't stressful enough right now, just living in this world. But, so you have exterior stress and you have interior stress. And then, it's like people are scratching their heads wondering why everyone's getting sick. Well, it's a bombardment. You're getting it from every angle.
Right. So, when you and I step back and take a statistical look, and anybody can do this and they'll find the same numbers. You step back and you go, okay, let's take mainstream folks they're branded. They're entitled. They believe everything they're told on the TV. They listen to their doctor. They go to the dentist. They do all the stuff they're supposed to do. They don't read labels. They're not really health conscious. Maybe a little bit, but not much. They live till they're 50 years old, 60, 70, 80, 90. We know some who lived over 100.
Yeah.
Right. Then you get the health conscious people at various levels of health consciousness. They live till they're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and some of them make it to 100.
Right.
So what's with that? Something's very wrong. So that led to the discovery of what is actually shortening our life, not just dehydration. That's the main thing. But the thing that you and I do all day long that we have no choice about. We can read every label, eat the cleanest food, eat the most nutritious food, do all these things. But if we don't know what is actually contaminating us because it's invisible, then we get messed up. And how many liters of air does an adult breathe in a day? Is 11,000 liters a day.
Wow.
That's how much air we breathe. So I found out that number when I started studying about all these people putting masks on. I'm like, you guys are putting masks on? What's the mask? Microplastics and inhibiting the air you're breathing. So I found out that the particulate matter that we're breathing is so tiny, it goes into a realm you can't see it. Now, if I had a laser light, or if you had a laser light right now, like just one of those pointer laser lights, turn it on and shine it in front of you, no matter where you are, in your house, in your car, outside.
You would pick some up, right? Yeah.
Well, you're going to see millions of little particles in the air that we call dust.
Mm-hmm.
That's what your naked eye can see. But there's microscopic things you can't see with your naked eye in there as well. And what you find out, there are quadrillions of nanoparticles in the air. Every liter of air we breathe has quadrillions of invisible to the naked eye particles, but they're very
Mm-hmm.
real. They're nanoparticles and they're microparticles. And they are made of rubber dust, which is plastics, epoxies, resins, cotton, metals, chemicals, contaminants, pollutants, whatever.
Basically, a lot of man-made pollutants that are just filled the air, riddled in the air.
Right. And just that, there's 1,000 things on the list of things that are in the air, but just this one of the big ones is rubber dust, because there's 10 billion pounds of rubber dust worn off tires every year in just the United States alone. 10 billion
It's a
pounds. It's
shame.
like, what? That's based on the number of tires sold, the thickness of the tread, the width, and the size of the tires. And there's 18 in every truck and 4 in every car.
And then we wonder why our fertility is gone bye-bye. We wonder why cancer, new cancers continue to pop up. And it's such a tragedy, man. It's like people are just no idea.
That's right. No, brake dust. How about this one? This one really pissed me off. Because I thought, why would we do, like tires, okay, there's not much you can do about that other than better transportation technology. And it's certainly not battery-powered cars that are the answer, because they have tires, okay?
Yeah.
But if you go on Google Maps and you type in crematorium, funeral parlor, whatever, you will find them embedded in every neighborhood, in every city across North America. What are they doing there? And why are they burning the bodies? Why do they cremate bodies now? Because when I was born, 10% of the bodies were cremated. Now it's 80%. And let's take a look at that. Here's a body of an old person who is full of all the crap they've accumulated their whole life breathing. Number one, they're super toxic. That's why they died.
Right.
They've got chemotherapy drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, metals, fungus. Fungus doesn't burn in a fire, it off-gasses.
Right.
So out of those stacks of every crematorium is the off-gassing of the dead human bodies we're burning in their faces.
Wow.
That's so messed up, and we're breathing it right now, whether you like it or not.
There's that much of it, huh?
Well, there's 164,000 people who die every day in the world. Every day. Oh, they also decided it was really smart to cremate the animals too. So all the animals that are being killed on the highways, which is like 1 million animals a day, could you just check it out? They now cremate them as well.
Why not just put them in the ground?
Well, why not compost them?
Yeah, why not compost them? That's what I mean when I say put them in the ground. Or I mean,
that's when you put them in the ground, the body goes into a state of, like, they put formaldehyde in their bodies to preserve them. So
well, that's a problem. Yeah.
But then even if they don't, the body takes a long time, and all that crap in the body goes down into the water tables eventually.
Yeah.
It's not good. And so this is something you can look up, and everyone can check it out. In Colorado and Oregon, they passed a law that says you're allowed to compost bodies. In every other state in the United States, not legal.
I think New York just tried to make it legal, or maybe they made it legal finally, but it's...
I hope so. But then how many people are going to do it? So it's simple, though. Our bodies are full of bacteria when we're alive, and when we die, that bacteria blows up and it starts to ferment ourselves. So they put, what they discovered, have you seen those tubes they put bodies in?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's like a wall of tubes. And so they take the fresh dead body, they put it on top of a compost material in the tube. They put compost material on top of the body till it's completely covered. They let that sit there for 30 days only. And in 30 days, the entire body is converted to dirt, including the bones.
Wow.
Phenomena. All of the chemotherapy drugs they took, the pharmaceuticals, the fungus, all that stuff, it ferments and makes it inert. It doesn't off-gas that at all, because there's no heat involved other than the heat of but it's not going to off-gas.
Right.
It converts it to inert matter. They take the dirt in that tube after 30 days and they fertilize the forest with it. That's the proper way. That's how the body's totally non-toxic, does not off-gas in our faces, And they've been trying to pass the law in California for the last several years. Nope, 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 nope.
Why, of all places, California?
I know. It's ridiculous. Look,
Makes no sense.
it is intentionally done. And whoever runs this world, they know all about these things.
Yeah.
But they don't care. And it's like, they care as much about us as they care about the leaves blowing in a tree over there. Right? But we care. You care, and I care. And we care immensely.
Yeah.
And it's up to each one of us in our universe. I'm not going to worry about the people running the world and all their things. No, I'm only concerned with one thing: being very careful for myself, for my family, for my colleagues, my friends, and for whoever I meet. And I can only care about you as much as I care about me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I show that I don't really care and I'm willing to harm myself and not pay attention, then I'm a dangerous entity.
Yeah.
But if I show that I can care and I can only love you as much as I love me. I can only love my wife and family as much as I love myself. We know that's the equation, right? Because I'm only capable of that. So learning to care more, to love more, and not some gushing emotional love, just real, genuine love to be alive, love to serve people and give them the things that they really need, to give them the keys.
Right.
And say, I found out this key, when you put it in that lock and turn it, it unlocks a whole dimension that we didn't even know was there. That's what this is all about. It's activating people so that they have the keys. It's our job. Once you have a key, Faust, just like you've learned in your life, you've been given keys in your life that are big upgrades, and you share them with us. That's what this podcast is about.
It's exactly what it's about.
Right.
I think it's the natural order of things. You get to a certain point and it spills over, which is an amazing and beautiful thing. And thank God that is within human nature. It happens to a lot of people. Thank God, because that's how we grow. That's how we evolve as a human family. It's a beautiful thing. And that's why I was so excited to have you back on, Ian, because I know, knowing you, how much you've accumulated over the past year and since we spoke last, I was like, I can't wait to pick your brain. Yeah. But just real quick before we move on, it's phenomenal to me that you had a tumor, which was diagnosed. You were given a diagnosis most people would have been very, very shaken with, and fearful of, and you took a path that not a lot of people have the courage and the fortitude to take, and this tumor, it never ended up getting surgically removed, right? It was it literally went away after so long of you taking care of yourself,
right?
And giving yourself the love that you should have been giving yourself, and learning how to do that most effectively. I'm just clarifying for our listeners who may have missed your first episode with me.
Right. Yeah, it was a nasty tumor that was in a very dangerous place, and it was, thankfully, it was between my legs, right between the scrotum and the rectum, a long thing about this long, with a big lump in the middle and two lumps on each end, satellites, whatever. But it was in an area where I didn't want anybody cutting with a knife, because that's where all the male plumbing is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not comfortable with that. Like, why do I have this thing? And you guys just want to cut it out? Then what's going to happen?
Yeah. Where's that going to leave me? My God.
Well, it was attached to the colon as well. Like, then you have a breach in the colon they would have to sew up. I found out that those breaches very seldom heal.
Yeah.
And I wanted to find out why I had this stupid thing. It took 7 years for my body to deal with that. And finally, in the end, my body simply dissolved it out of my body because it had no more use for it. There was a usefulness to that tumor. I just didn't understand what it was. It was an accumulation of a massive toxicity that my body could not any longer deal with through the regular elimination channels. And it was the alarm going off. It's like, dude, you have got a massive trouble. You are in big trouble. It scared me. I was just as scared as anybody else would be.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I was, and I didn't know. I was like, whoa, why is this happening? Right? I'm only 46 years old, and I got like 3 years to get this thing gone, or it's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was just that. It was terrifying. And I had just a little bit of courage. But the thing with me is I had nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
I was in a situation where it was like, well, I just went bankrupt from a business failure in 2004. My health blew out on me. I was way overweight. I looked absolutely terrible. I was
Mm.
I was very unpleasant to look at, right?
Yeah.
It was not good. I mean, nothing about me was good. I stunk. I had odors coming off of my body that my belly
Yeah, you
button
were
would
sick.
stink
Yeah.
like something was dying in my belly button.
Mm.
Like, what? It was so messed up, and candida blowouts and on and on. But
Yeah.
thank God, I was just paying attention to the alarms, knowing there were people near somewhere who could help me, but I just didn't know who they were or how to find them. But I knew they existed, and thankfully, I just made a commitment. I said, okay, if I can be led to these people, I will do whatever it takes. I will
Yeah.
suffer at whatever level. I'll spend whatever time, energy, and money that I have or don't have to be able to find out the truth. And I will just do whatever it takes. I'll have as much fun as required. I'll suffer as much,
Yeah.
and when you have that commitment, you're in for it. I was in
Yeah.
for a ride of my life, and it wasn't exactly fun a lot of times. It was a lot of suffering.
I'm
But
sure.
if I could go back now, like here we are, 19 years later from the beginning of that thing, if I could go back to 2004 right now, it would be 6 months and
Yeah.
I would be out of that problem.
Now you know what to do. Now exactly what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not,
Yeah.
not
Hindsight is
years.
always 2020.
Yeah, but the thing that's kind of cool because what I know now is so simple. It cost about $1.5 million to learn just enough to be able to extend my life out. Because if I have 36 months left and turn that to 60 months, and then use 60 months to turn it to 15 years, and now 15 years turns into 50 years because you're learning all the time. So these are the keys, and
Yeah.
no money can buy these keys. People tell me, like, I'll have people approach me with different problems. They'll be at different levels of issue, maybe, and different levels of wealth.
Yeah.
And their wealth is, derived from wherever, but they want to keep living because they realize that the older they're getting, the more valuable they are on the earth, but their body's falling apart,
Mm-hmm.
and their body's their interface. So I tell people, this is on a very private basis, but so if somebody comes with a certain level of problems that need to be dealt with, I know how to fix those things. They are the ones that are going to do the fix. I'm
Right.
simply going to give them the keys. So it costs money because when people do not spend money on themselves, right? They're not going to give the money to me. They're going to spend money on themselves. So what I tell them is, okay, you're at this level. You're at a $10,000 level, or you're at a $100,000 level. You're somewhere in between 10,000 and 100,000.
Right.
And you're going to require my time for the next 12 months to coach you. You're going to place that money in trust with your lawyer. We're going to get an agreement that if and only if you get the results that I am telling you that you want, that you're going to get, that I know how to give you, and you're going to do the work, that
Yeah.
only then are you going to decide whether that money should be released into my care, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take the money and spend it. If you do not get those results in 12 months, that money goes right back to you because you're not going to pay for something you don't get results from.
Right.
I know exactly what this person needs to do. And they just need to do it, need to implement, but they need to be coached because they're going to be going like, why would I do this? Or why would I do that?
Right.
Right. So, up to the $100,000 mark. So if they put $100,000 in trust with their lawyer and they get the results, they will be extremely excited to release that money into an account where I will use that money to further help more people,
Yeah.
not to take it and spend it on me, because the company I have, it generates enough revenue to be able to pay for the things in our life, and we live a pretty simple life.
Yeah.
But money is very much important because it's a fuel, and it gives them commitment. And if they don't get the results, they get the money back. They don't pay me. Why
Right.
would I charge somebody something for something they didn't get? Right? It would be
Right.
like you going down to the dealership and buying a car and spending money, and here's this beautiful, gorgeous car, but it doesn't run.
Yeah.
And you paid for it. It's like, that never happens, by the way. Would you ever buy a car that didn't run?
No.
No. No, you wouldn't
No.
pay for it. You would. So why would health be any different? But in the kind of the woo-woo realm of you're going to get healthy, and how do you measure it?
Yeah.
Like Hunter has a measuring device,
Yeah.
our friend Hunter, right? And that measuring device is amazing because now you can tell there's no like guesswork involved. Plus, you can see in appearance, you can see in energy levels, you can measure everything in the body. You know whether you got the results or not. You know if the pain went away. So we're
Yeah.
talking about biological and also structural. So it may, if I only knew how to get the organs working beautifully, where the brain's on perfectly, and the heart and the lungs and the liver and the kidneys and the pancreas and all these, your digestive system. What if you didn't have a structure? What if you'd been damaged when you were younger and you'd had injuries and you have a bad knee or two knees that are bad like I had, or shoulders that are all messed up? Well, how are you going to live long like that?
Yeah.
Because that's not going to work for you, right? You're going to end up in a situation where you don't want to be alive if you can't move around.
Yeah. And you're not
So,
you're not going to be able to exercise. You're not going to be able, I mean, if your mobility goes, you're kind of screwed. You're going to end up putting on weight, and it's going to be challenging. It's going to be very challenging.
right now, the toxicity factor is there. So it ends up where you have to have the full, complete package. It can't just be biological. It has to be mechanical. So the mechanical side is the most powerful thing that I learned, aside from this original biological side. I found out how to heal the body myself very efficiently. It's a very visible thing. It's physical. It's not woo-woo. It does not require technology. Like everybody's waiting for med beds. I'm not waiting for med beds. I don't ever need med beds, ever. Because that's like the thing into the future. Oh, if I could just get a med bed and put myself back to a
Yeah.
25-year-old.
Then I can continue to treat myself like shit and eat like, it's like, wait a minute.
Right.
I don't think they're going to work like that, even if they do ever come out.
Mm-hmm. So this accumulation thing, this particulate matter, when you do the math on it, it's crazy. Like if you get your calculator and you go 11,000 liters a day, that's how much air you're breathing. In that air is quadrillions, in every liter is quadrillions of particulate matter that you have no choice but to suck in. There's no filter you could wear to get rid of it. So you go 11,000 times 365 is 4,015,000 liters of air in 1 year. Okay, the average life expectancy, which is now we know is false, but let's just say pretend, that's 309,155,000 liters of air you breathe in your life. How much do you think you're going to accumulate of rubber dust, brake dust, cremated bodies, industrial pollutants, whatever? So when you are accumulating it, that's because you're dehydrated. When you hydrate and your body starts producing clean new blood every day, within 30 to 60 days, your body intelligence goes, oh, well, we can just get rid of that blood because we're producing new blood tomorrow and we're going to get rid of it today. And so in a year, it takes 1 year to reduce the accumulated garbage that's in your system.
Wow.
It's just a year. That's all. Even at my age, it's 1 year. And then once
It's
you
not bad
get,
at all.
No, it's not bad, but it's a bit of, there's a lot of crap that goes in the toilet, man.
I'm sure.
Let me tell you, it's like you got to be ready for the ride.
Yeah.
You're going to be turning your crap into liquid for a while. And it's going to go out. And then when you get the accumulation down to a tolerable level, then the air you're breathing today with that garbage in it goes out the same day. The same amount coming in goes out the same day. That's why you keep living. Because if you're holding a 25-year-old biological, you fix your structural, you get stronger, and then you just keep living. And we have no idea now how long we can live. It could be literally hundreds of years because that's how long people used to live. But you have to have the keys. That's what, how valuable is that? Is it worth 10,000, 100,000? Come on.
I always tell people, I'm like, how can you put a price on your health? I mean, it's what are you saving your money for if you don't have your health? I don't understand the disconnect. You're like, well, I'm not going to pay extra for that. I'm like, wait, okay, then eat the poison, then eat the crap. It's your choice. It's your money. But for where I'm sitting, it's like, what else would you spend your money on that could be more important than the things that are going to make you healthy? I don't understand it, but I understand times are tight and people make choices, and it is what it is.
Times are tight up here.
Yeah.
Right. And times are tight here. No, times are not tight. Times are abundant. The earth has never changed. We're the ones that are doing the changing mentally. Oh, there's bank runs and there's this and that, and the economy and oh my God, it's like, no, that's that world out there. That's not your world.
Right.
You know, in your world, you control 100% of your wealth, right?
Right.
In their world, oh, it's so bad. 1% of the population controls 99% of the wealth. If I say that, my subconscious is going to believe that.
Yeah.
The truth is, I control 100% of the wealth of my life. You control 100% of the wealth in your life. And the way I spell wealth is Wellth, right? Wealth,
Yeah.
not Wealth. Now,
Right.
how valuable are you right now, Faust, to the world versus where you were 10 years ago? How much more valuable today are you 10 years later than you were 10 years ago?
Exponentially.
Like
I mean, there's,
crazy, right?
yeah, very little
Right.
comparison.
Right. And 10 years from now, you're going to be another 10 times more valuable than you
Wow.
were in the last 10 years versus 10 years ago. But 10 times more than you just increased in the last 10 years because you're getting older, wiser, faster, smarter, stronger. You're getting more dialed in. You're more valuable to yourself, to your family, to your loved ones, to your colleagues, and to the world in general.
It's so
So,
true. It's
right.
exciting.
And how old are you now?
I am 43, going on 35.
I'm 25. So I'm 65 and I just turned 25.
Nice.
Right. But at 85, so in the last 10 years, I've seen a significant upgrade simply by the things that I've been allowed to learn. And I know that every single day we are going to become more valuable. Therefore, we should be very conscious of wanting to be here as long as possible. If you have like back in the day, people lived over 900 years. So if you have a 900-year-old teaching a 700-year-old, teaching a 500-year-old, teaching a 300-year-old, we have no clue what that's like. We
No.
have 70-year-old teaching 40-year-olds, teaching 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And look how much we've advanced already just in that short time
Yeah.
in a depleted earth, an earth that's been ripped to shreds in so many areas.
And unfortunately, many of our 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds are depleted themselves because they have not had the tools or the knowledge to advance to those years with truly able to access the accumulated wisdom that they have at their fingertips, because we know what happens to the body when you don't have the keys. It doesn't end up very pretty. And in fact, the longevity is not often there. And when it is, unfortunately, people who do see 100, because without the keys, most of them don't make it to that age with their mind, and my God, imagine when we start getting there with the wisdom, the world will change.
Right. It's like you pointed out, like they're tired. They're
Yeah.
weary. They're done. They're like, oh, I'm retired. I'm supposed to retire in what, 3 months from now, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to be getting my Canadian pension, and oh, I just couldn't wait for it. It's like, are
Yeah.
you joking? We're just getting started. I don't care about some stupid pension.
Yeah.
What on earth is that? And retired, just that name alone, that's a title. Oh, I'm retired. I'm never retired.
Yeah.
It's like getting a retread.
Right.
No, no. We're talking about going all the way back to a youthful state and holding it is totally doable. The body's 100% capable of it. It just needs to be supported. And you get all the biohackers, okay? And people talk about biohacking. Okay, I know the word is weird. It sounds
Yeah.
brutal, like I'm going to hack away at this thing.
Yeah. It does.
No, I'm not, because you really actually can't biohack. The only thing that I liked about that term is that it made people kind of think, oh, maybe there's things I could do to
Yeah.
support my body's ability to be healthy and strong. And so that, in that sense, is good. But the body cannot be hacked. It has to be supported. You've got a quadrillion thoughts every millisecond happening, just having you in this conversation and having
Mm-hmm.
me here. It takes 80,000 thoughts to touch our index finger to our thumb every time because
Wow.
of all the movement. They've measured that. And so we can sit and do this and talk on the thing and wiggle our toes and keep focused on what we're talking about because there's automatic thoughts by the quadrillions of them in the background. And then we have our conscious thoughts and our subconscious thinking, but our automated thinking. So we're super complex, but we're
Yes,
super dialed in too.
indeed, we are. You know, so 1 year, and so diagnostically,
Mm-hmm.
when you, like, how can you keep track of and check and measure, how much progress you're making. If someone was interested in doing this and saying, okay, I want to do that. I'm going to be consistent and disciplined, and I'm going to use structured water, and I'm going to make sure that every time I take a drink that I have the minerals that I need, the trace minerals that I need to detox my body from this air and this world that we are residing in right now. That leaves us little choice but to, we have to breathe,
That's right.
I mean, how can someone track their progress, Ian?
Well, it's going to be physically observed. So, you're going to see, when I first started doing this, I went through quite a bit. And I learned about this last year. Even though I knew all about this and I was doing this all along, I didn't realize that I was doing the right thing. I just wasn't doing enough of it.
Right.
And I got a call from a friend of mine, Deborah, in 2022. And she confided in me some things because it's sort of like medical advice. And I share different things with different people on phone calls. And I've known her for about 5 years, her and her husband. And she said, you've shared a lot of information with me, and it's my turn to share with you. She said, when I was 45 years old, I had what I thought was hormonal change, like premenopausal at 45. She'd had 3 children in her 30s, and she got vaginal dryness, and her mucous membranes were drying up. So she thought, oh, it's just hormones. Go to the naturopath. The naturopath puts her on bioidentical, this, that, whatever, spent lots of money on various different things to try to help, which helped a little bit, but it didn't fix the problem. As soon as she would go back to just being a normal person, it would be bad. And then she found out about putting the sea minerals in water, and she started doing it because I didn't even tell her. I mean, I told her about this, but I didn't know the amount. You have to have a certain amount per liter and a certain number of liters per body weight. And she said within 2 months of her drinking the electrolytic fluid and not touching any water and getting off of diuretics, because you just take a list of diuretics and I just erase them. Once I found out about this, I erased those because I still had some in my life. And she had as well. So she had to stop that, just drink the electrolytic fluids. And within 2 months, she had vaginal lubrication like a 21-year-old, and all her mucous membranes came back online in only 2 months. And that jarred me. I thought, like, really? And she's 67 years old?
Holy shit.
Right. Interesting. So that made me go, oh, maybe I'm missing something here, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when I started doing the research. By October of last year, I was fully into it. And when I got into it, and every single day, now it's just a way of life. It becomes a way of life. And a diuretic was one of my favorite things was caffeine, because everyone loves caffeine. People drink caffeinated things because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Gives them a little buzz, gives them a little bit of focus,
A little
and
bit
all
of
that.
pick me up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got off of that because that's one of the most major diuretics. Like that will delete your precious fluids more than anything else. The other one's alcohol. The other one's nicotine. The other one is, unfortunately, all these other different things that people smoke and consume. A lot of herbal stuff is diuretics. Any medicinal foods are diuretics. You don't need medicinal foods when you're not
What's
sick.
like an example of a medicinal food?
Oh, like turmeric, mushrooms, those kinds of things. Like medicinal,
okay.
anything with medicinal attached to it.
Okay.
Right. And it's just not required. The body doesn't, I mean, if you're really, really, really sick, they can help you. But you don't ever want to be really, really, really sick.
Right.
When you're not sick, your body's like, why are you giving me that? It's weird. And then you lose fluids from it because your body's like, got to get rid of it. It gives an excitotoxic reaction.
So
But
even turmeric, like for someone who is dealing with some chronic inflammation, or you would say lay off it or use it for a while and then give it a break, or what?
well, it's a Band-Aid for chronic inflammation. I say, let's go to the absolute root case. You are dehydrated. You are full of particular matter. You have got congestion throughout your whole entire body, which they translate to inflammation, which is pain, discomfort, headaches, brain fog, sore this, sore that. That's what they call inflammation. And it's because the person is plugged up because they're dehydrated. So doing medicinal foods or diet, like if somebody's low on energy and they have to have a coffee to get going in the morning, that means there's something dramatically wrong. So I have 10 times more quality energy than I've ever had taking caffeine. I mean, there's no comparison. You can't even begin to compare the two things.
Wow.
And it's replacing the things that are pleasurable with a tax attached to them with
Right.
things that are far more pleasurable with a reward attached to them. I don't want to pay taxes. Well, I mean, I pay taxes no matter what. I'm not talking about money taxes.
No, I
I don't
know.
want to pay tax from my body's well-being to something because I want some pleasurable thing. I found out that there's things far more pleasurable, more enjoyable than coffee to drink, better aroma, better buzz. Not that you're no stimulants, but you just have a better experience in life. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to feel good, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you want pleasure. We are pleasurable beings.
Yeah. We're wired for it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't want to have a pleasure that has a price attached to it. I want a reward
Right.
attached to it. And so learning that's what the whole protocols are all about. That's what the keys are all about. And also releasing all the nano razor blades that we've accumulated in our joints, our cartilage, and our muscles, and our just everywhere. Like our joints are so important, and they wear out when you leave those abrasive nanoparticles in your body. It wears your knees out, it wears your hips out, it wears your shoulders out. Everything just wears out, and
I
you
didn't realize that
cannot.
that's probably one of the biggest factors in why people develop arthritis later in life. And like, like my, like probably from boxing, but just from playing sports my whole life, like I could tell my tendon is wearing thin, because this one is, this one gets sore now. And this one, which I rehabbed after I pulled it, you can see where it's pulled a little bit, right?
Right.
And you recommended that PMF machine, which I used religiously,
Mm-hmm.
and my left arm feels like new. I mean, my left arm feels great, and my right arm, which I never rehabbed, now my right arm gets a little sore, and I know that, probably my tendon is starting to wear a little thin. So I'm thinking about pretending like I pulled it and rehabbing it the way I rehab my left, so it works the way my left does. It's crazy.
Right.
But that machine you recommended was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a technology that is very helpful. But once you have the other keys, you don't even need that machine anymore. But you do need that machine for helping you when you're coming out of a crisis situation like
An
like a
injury.
pulled muscle or an injured. But now the injuries, once you get your body cleaned out of all the nano razor blades, you don't get injured. You can do way more. You can exert yourself far more and not pull and tear, which is another remarkable thing. But it's all scientific, real science, not based on anything else. Like a professional athlete, if they use these keys, they would not get injured in the field. They would be able to get twisted and torn and torqued and still not be injured, whereas they get injured immediately when they get torqued and twisted now or banged because they're so full of this stuff.
I wonder if that's why, we always attribute the kind of the way kids are so, you can twist them. They're just a little, they're like Gumby, you know what I mean? They don't get hurt easy. I mean,
Right.
these days kids get hurt, I think, more easy than ever, but growing up, of course, you remember how fast we healed when we're kids and just how flexible we were. And, it's like, sometimes I wonder if that's due because there was not this accumulation yet, in the bones and in the joints of these nanoparticles.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's from the younger you are when you get these keys, the faster it works. Like right now, it took me a year. It's taking me. I'm still in the process. It takes a full year to hydrate the body and to get all the accumulated out. But I've seen so much remove already. There's ways to speed it up. But when you're young, you don't have that much. You only got what your mom gave you when she formed your body, and what you've accumulated in the first 20 years or 10 years. But usually it takes an adult to really understand this. So by the 20, 21 years old, when you start, you're going to have an amazing experience in your human body because you're going to just be so much further ahead than the normal society. Not that you want to just be ahead of them. You want to be helpful.
Yeah.
So if you're able to fly high and bring people up to where you are, that's good. You can only bring people up as high as you are. So this is a massive breakthrough. And I know that there's a reason that I was given this information to give to people.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. And some of us just have that. I was given all this time and all this, like $85 million came through the account that was used to be able to do the research, to filter out the stuff that didn't work and to find the signal to noise that's super clean, getting all
Yeah.
the noise out so you have a clear signal. So now people can learn from this and they don't have to go through any of the stuff I went through.
Yeah.
They can now benefit from all the most definitive info. And so there's a thing called the transfer of an expense. So when people have a certain amount of knowledge, it costs this much, say, to get healthy and to have longevity, which is just normal health and normal longevity, nothing extended. And so they're paying this kind of time and energy and money to do this. When they learn the truth, this drops way, 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 way down. And then this comes up a little bit here. So the transfer of expense makes the actual stuff you have to do less than free. It's free, plus you get to save a whole bunch of money on top of that. For example, my grocery bill is 25% of what it used to be, because now I know what to eat, when to eat, and it costs almost nothing. And I don't have to do all these other things I was doing before because the transfer of expense went down and this went up. Now I got way excess of everything. I have excess time, energy, effort, and money to do, and I've accomplished 10 times more results because of the knowledge. So this is priceless info.
Yeah.
And the more people who get this, the more energy is going to be shedding its light out into the world for people to show up. Like when I show up, I can't fake it.
Right.
I got perfect skin. I've got my colors back. I've got energy. You cannot fake it. In the physical world, seeing is believing. And I want everyone to have what I have because it's a great joy to see people find out and go, what? I can do what? No, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You mean if I do this and this, that, yep. Well, and I can show you what I did with me, but I can't show you what you do with you. You show you what you do with you. And that's the cool part about this. So I can't take credit for anything. I can only give you the keys that you get the credit for taking the advantage of the information, implementing and executing, and then getting the results yourself. Then when you show up, everybody's like, dude, what's with you? Like every time I see you, you're younger and you're stronger and you're faster. Like, I don't get it. Are you like 65 years old?
Be like, I'm not anymore.
Right. It's got nothing to do with age. It has to do with how long you're doing the things that are cool versus how long you've done the things that are not cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So if people are interested in these protocols, Ian, and they want to know, okay, so I want to implement this in my life, or I want to at least give it a try and see if I can bear it, and like where should they check out your website? How do they,
Yeah, well, the website is one place. Like, so there's activationproducts.com where that's our e-commerce site for the products.
Right.
And the products are complementary, definitely very complementary. There's no miracle pills or potions. They don't exist. They're only complementary to the knowledge and the things you execute on. Now, as far as being able to do it, this is the simplest stuff I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, effort. It doesn't cost, the money side is very low, but it takes a bank account full of courage. But that's okay because you can start depositing courage into your account. I had a little bit of courage to start with. And so with that little bit of courage, I did this and it was like, wow, that was intense, But as I did that, then I got more courage. And then the next time it was less intense and then less. And now it's like a way of life. And it's simple. It's easy. It's fast acting. And if people want results, like real fast results, they can get it. They just have to take initiative for themselves and not trying to be compared to anybody else around them. You are who you are. You have your genetics. You have your history. It's very unique. And you are the one that's going to decide how quickly you're going to move and what you're going to do. You're the one who creates your menu. When you take responsibility and you learn the information, all I do is share the keys. But you're the one who takes the key and puts it in the lock. I can't put your key in your lock for you. And then you unlock the lock. You unlock the lock and it opens this whole new dimension. And you're like, I can't, this stinking works, man.
Yeah.
This totally works. Like, I'm so excited. And then when you see that, then you go, well, what more can I do? Oh, here's another key. You can do this now. And you open up that one and then you see a whole nother number of upgrades. And it's just a paradox because it's exactly the opposite of what we're taught in the health world and the medical world.
It's a breakthrough way of thinking and understanding the human body and the whole aging process. I mean, I always say, man, there's it just always seemed to me like we were missing something, and then you go far out and you start to learn about and communicate with, and you start to get a greater understanding of how, oh, okay, on other worlds, in civilizations that are more advanced than ours, they understand this stuff. This stuff is like, common sense, and of course they get an extreme longevity with their bodies because they're not poisoning their bodies. They've
Right.
refined the ability. They've used their intelligence to refine the ability to take care of it. Of course, they're living, and our world is we this is Earth is not exactly it's beautiful, but it's a dense world to live in. It's not an easy existence, and so we're made of some incredible stuff. This soft technology it doesn't get any better than this.
That's
And
right.
what it's capable of, we're just scratching the surface. I believe that with all my heart. I know that. And
Hmm.
so I love conversations like this. So Ian, what if you're not eating anything with the word like medicinal? That's okay. So people are going to hear that and be like, "Well, shit! I thought mushrooms were healthy. I thought this. What am I supposed to eat if mushrooms and some of these other things that I thought were good for me may not be good for me? What do you where do you suggest they look for their diet?"
Yeah, well, to qualify that, so mushrooms are good for you, but they're not awesome for you. So they're
Okay.
good for you when you don't know what you're doing, then they help. They
Right.
really do. Caffeine is not good for you, but it helps when you don't know what you're doing. It helps you to get energy, but there's
Yeah.
a tax. So what if people subscribe to our email list, and most importantly, we're building a community, and it's not quite ready yet to join membership, but it's a community where all these things are going to be shared within it, and it's a little bit of a time consuming thing, but not very much. It's a small amount of time. So we're building this. Once we get this group built, and then people can get invited into it. But when they're a subscriber to the email list, they'll be up to speed on everything that's going on.
Cool.
They can if they go to our website, they can get things like black cumin, which works with the dental. They can go to my Twitter account, which is Ian Activated on Ian. I think it's Ian Clark Activated on Twitter.
Hmm.
Go to my TikTok account is Ian Activated, like at Ian
We'll
Activated.
have links for everyone in the video description too.
Yeah,
Make it
that's
easy.
cool. Yeah, and I'll share that. And then there's just little clips, little 1.5 minute clips where I went from like 65 followers 4.5 weeks ago because I never bothered with TikTok before.
Right.
And then now I've got 22,000 followers and a whole bunch of these
Nice.
1 to 1.5 minute videos. So it's just a matter of getting the word out
Yeah.
but getting connected, and I'll make sure everybody has access to everything as often as we make it known.
Excellent. Excellent. Good deal. I'm gonna be right there with them because I love paying attention to everything that you've got to say and what you've got going on because you continually are putting out very valuable information. And I am, I'm in a great place right now. I'm accumulating enough knowledge where I feel good, and I just keep coming into more and more keys, like you said, and figuring out ways to, man, it's like you get older, you get wiser, and I just, I want to be there and see my great grandkids. I want to be around to hold them, and that would be that's a goal of mine. It'd be an amazing
Yeah.
thing.
Add two more greats. Add two more great grandchildren.
Great, absolutely. No reason why not. Are you kidding?
For sure.
The world is definitely changing, and I think that we are finally coming into a more of a cosmic birth on this planet. There are some things that are rattling away, that have to rattle away. So it's
Right.
chaotic if you're paying attention. I try not to pay attention because it's such a mess, and it's just so much anxiety right now. But it seems to be working itself out. And we both know the Earth will be here a lot longer than any of us. So I'm not worried.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's have a good time. Here for a
Yeah,
long time too, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, be here with her as long as we can. That's the goal.
Yes. All
But
right.
well, Ian, thank you so much for your time, brother. I appreciate it. Everyone. Check out all Ian's things. You'll find every link you need in the video description. And thank you to everyone who joined us. And as always, question the answers, my friends. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Appreciate it. Ian, you the man, brother. Good to talk to you. We'll do it again soon.
Okay, Faust. Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay,
Really,
brother.
really good.
Take
Loved
care.
it. Okay, take care.
Thank you.